welcome back to my channel, or hello if you are new. Today I thought it'd be fun to sit down and talk to you guys about some fun DIY projects that I've done recently that tie into my fall decor. If you've seen my fall decorate with me videos, I share a few projects where I took pieces I already had and gave them a little facelift. I have 3 projects today. One are rub and buff picture frames, creating a vintage gallery art wall. So I'll be sharing the process of how I did that, as well as faux pottery vases. I did a little bit of a different technique this time, and I really like the result. And last but not least, a faux fall tree, which if you saw my living room decorate with me, I share it at the end of the video, and I'm so excited to show you guys how I made that tree for less than $20. So be sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe. I will have my other fall shop with me videos as well as fall decorate with me's. I have my kitchen and my living room posted already, so I'll link both of those videos down below, as well as my fall 2023 playlist. Okay, so for the first project, I had some frames that I picked up from Home Goods. They came in a pack of, I believe, 7 of them, and they were originally $40, but they were marked down on clearance for $9. So I grabbed them, but I didn't love the gold color that they were. They were kind of a shinier gold, but I love the frames and they were such a great deal. So I decided to pick up some rub and buff paint from Hobby Lobby, and I did get the color antique gold, and all I did for the frames was pop out the glass, get the frame by itself, and I just laid it on some craft paper and I painted the rub and buff on. Now, since doing this project, I have learned that there are other ways to do the rub and buff. I always heard that you should literally rub the paint onto whatever piece you're using, but I decided to use a paintbrush and do it a little bit heavier. That way it had more texture to it. And this resulted in a very, very deep gold color. I liked this for this area. However, if you wanted to do a lighter gold, you would just apply less of the paint. And if you also wanted to try a different technique, you could get some gloves and just rub the paint on. I think this depends on what kind of material you're using, obviously. These frames are a plastic material. They were very slick, so I found that the paint kind of just slid right off of them. I have heard that if you paint whatever piece you're using black and then rub the rub and buff on over it, that will give a really pretty antique look, so keep that in mind. And also, Hobby Lobby only had the one antique gold color, but there are lots of different colors you can choose from, and you can order those on Amazon. So I'll have a few of those linked down below in the description. You could paint all different sorts of things: vases, little pottery pieces, mirrors, picture frames, lots of different things you could use the rub and buff on to give it a more antique look, which I think looks so beautiful with fall decor. So I bought these landscape art pictures off of Etsy and I printed them at Walgreens. They were half off of the prints, so it was a great deal. I picked them up in less than an hour, and then I put them in the frames and hung them up in this little area beside our kitchen, and I just love how it turned out. That area was blank for a really long time and I didn't really know how to style it or what to put there, and I love the picture frames with this little accordion hook. And I am planning on switching out those prints for the different seasons. I'll link the exact prints that I used down below as well, but I love how this project turned out and I can't wait to use the rub and buff on more things. For project number 2, I found these 2 vases on clearance at Hobby Lobby. They were such amazing deals, and these are very heavy duty, really good quality vases that I thought would be beautiful if they were more of a worn antique pottery look. That just goes with my style a little bit better. They were a slick material, so I wanted to totally transform them and make them more of a kind of coarse pottery feel. So what I did was I picked up some paint from Walmart. I'll have the exact shades and everything in these clips, but I mixed a little bit of 2 different ones together, and then I mixed in some baking soda. This is no new trick or anything. I've done this for a lot of different projects, but I just mixed all that together. Some of my paint was glossy and some was matte, so keep that in mind when you're adding the baking soda. I knew that since I had one glossy paint, I needed to make it a little more matte, a little more gritty, so I added that baking soda in. But if you had 2 things of matte paint, you would probably need to add less of the baking soda. So just play around with it and get the right consistency. You don't want it super clumpy going on. You just want a nice smooth application with a little bit of texture. And as it dries, you can see that texture even more. So I painted it all a base color, and then I went in with a darker brown color. I didn't add any baking soda to this one. I just put a tiny little bit of brown, and then I dabbed it so very lightly with a paintbrush, and then I dabbed off the excess, and then I would paint a piece and then I would rub it off with a sponge. I also used a paper towel, but I like the sponge a little bit better. I just kept doing that technique all around the edges, the lip, anywhere that I feel like wear and tear would naturally happen. And then I ended up just bringing it all the way down the vase. And I did that for both of them. And this is how they turned out. I absolutely love how they look now. They fit my aesthetic so much better. And then for fall, I placed some dried florals in them and put them on my open shelves in my living room, and I just love them. They were such a fun DIY project. It took me probably less than 30 minutes to complete, and you could do this for any sort of ceramic material. Even if it's shiny, you can still get that pottery old world look. Okay, so for the last project, we have our faux DIY fall tree, and I will say this is semi-faux because what I did for this project was I went outside, found a branch that had fallen off of a tree. Yes, we found a branch, and I brought it in. It's kind of trimmed off any of the extra pieces. I didn't want a huge tree, but I did want one that had some curve to it. I have this landscape art picture in my kitchen, and that was the whole inspiration behind this tree. I love this technique of getting a real tree branch, and then I just found a little bucket, just an old bucket. You could also use a pot or planter of sorts. And I poured a little bit of Quikrete in there, let it set up, put my branch in, and let it dry overnight. While it was drying and like secure, I went ahead and just trimmed off all of those twigs and branches that I knew I wasn't going to use. And then at Michael's, I found a few bunches of these beautiful brownish red leaves that match the picture so beautifully. And the tree in the picture did curve a little bit, so that is what I went off of. And I just love the shape of these leaves. They were a great price. So I just cut all of the stems off of the bundle of the faux leaves, and then I just started hot gluing them onto the branches. So I would put hot glue on the actual stem and then hold it on the branch. And I tried to find branches that were little bitty that matched the flow of the faux stem. I also recommend getting clear hot glue. That way it doesn't dry white, it's less noticeable, and just try to use as little as possible. I also made sure that I added leaves to every single branch that had an open end on it. So every little branch that there was on the end of it, I put a faux leaf stem, and that created a really realistic look. I did want my tree to be pretty sparse, so I didn't add a ton of leaves, but I feel like this was just the right amount. Then I brought it home and put it in this large planter that I had, and I just filled it with some paper and then added some moss around the top. And this is the look. I feel like it ties the living room together so well, and I have a ton of dried florals in there, but nothing that's too loud. So this tree is just the star of the show, and I absolutely love it. The project really didn't take much time at all, and I'm thinking about making 2 little faux trees to go on either side of my front door as well, because it was fun to make and it was really affordable, and I feel like it just gives you a custom look. I also have seen people put puck lights in the bottom of their faux trees, and then it has a light shining up, and then you can turn the light on at night to shine on the tree. That's a really pretty look as well that looks very high end. So keep that in mind if you do make one. And it's such an affordable way to get a faux tree that looks so realistic, even more realistic than the ones you can find online for $200 plus. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and seeing some of my DIY projects that I've done this fall season. Like I said, I'll have my other fall videos linked down below if you want to check those out. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon in my next one. Bye, friends.